Hello writers, my name is Tennyson E. Stead. I am a working screenwriter, I am a working script doctor, and welcome to The Right Stuff. This is lesson 4 in our 5-week course on writing the pilot episode and show Bible for your 30-minute comedy or animation television series. And this is going to be the episode where we finish your pilot episode. So, by the time we finish last week's work, your protagonist has made things as bad as they can possibly get in this initial episode of the series. It's time for them to find a way forward. Like we said, in the words of Harley Erdman, drama is when a character succeeds because of their best efforts. Tragedy is when a character fails in spite of their best efforts. And comedy is when a character succeeds in spite of their best efforts. So this is the part where we get to see your protagonist succeed and drive the show into the next episode. And you already have a sense of the workflow. There's a couple points we need to hit on. Probably the biggest mistake that writers tend to make after a big act break like we had in the last act is to have some other character show up and help the protagonist through their tragic failure, the catastrophe that they've created for themselves. And that's a mistake. Because again, it's the efforts of the protagonist that draw the audience in. If you can't see a way forward for your protagonist because of the mess that they've made for themselves, that's a fantastic problem to have. That's great. That means you're going to have to dig really deep into that protagonist toolbox to help them find a way forward. And whatever they do is going to be spectacularly, ridiculously stupid. You're going to have some spectacular laughs on your hands if you do that digging. If you wind up having some other character come in, prop them up, and pat them on their back and send them on their way towards success, then I promise you it's not going to feel as earned as you'd like. Do not have the other characters of the story solve the protagonist's problems for them, because that takes the job away from the protagonist and it gives the audience less to watch. In fact, this is probably a fantastic time to talk about the difference between writing stand-up and writing for actors, writing comedy for actors. Okay, this is in fact the difference between stand-up comedy and sketch comedy. Stand-up comedy is all about making observations. We talked when we were discussing episode 1 about the contrast between an everyday situation and an absurd situation and trying to tell a story by sort of juxtaposing that contrast. Okay? And Act 3 of any particular comedy is where those same creative impulses wind up creating more, frankly, passive storytelling. Okay? We've allowed the protagonist to get into a terrible, ridiculous situation, and now we're going to help them out of that situation. It's not about the situation. It's about the efforts of the character to achieve their goal. The reason why we get trapped by the idea that explaining a situation or showing a situation, presenting a situation, encapsulates reality is because in literature, in journalism, and in stand-up comedy, that's true. Stand-up comics get paid to make observations about life. Oh, you're never going to guess, right? What I saw on the way to the club today. You're never going to guess what happened. I'm making an observation about life that the audience either hasn't made for themselves or is scared to make for themselves or whatever the case may be. And the fact that I'm up there taking responsibility for that observation so that they don't have to creates a sense of elation. When we're writing comedy for stand-up, that sense of elation, that sense of connection, the sense that the audience gets our observation is the point. We're getting a yes from the audience. Yes, I feel you. Yes, I understand you. Yes, I see what you're saying. Yes, I've seen that myself. We want our observation to be validated by the audience because that's where the laugh comes from. That sense of connection. It's the yes that gets the laugh. When we're writing for actors, and this is going to sound reductive, but bear with me, when we're writing for actors, they don't want our observations because they come to watch. The audience comes to watch. They don't want our observations because they want to make their own observations. Okay? which means instead of giving them something to see, we need to give them something to watch. What that means in comedy terms is we're not going for the yes, we're going for the no. No, please don't. Going back to our first conversation about comedy, Finding Nemo. No, please don't swim out in the ocean. Oh God, no, you're not equipped for this. Please don't do it. Charlie Chaplin, please do not try to pay the blind girl's rent. You do not have the tools. Stop what you're doing. Right? Axel Foley, please do not go to Beverly Hills. You do not belong in... Stop. That is the impulse that you should be getting from the audience. Elf is about the world's most innocent man trying to teach the magic of Christmas to Manhattan. They don't want the magic of Christmas, buddy. Go back to the North Pole. I'm sorry for your troubles. It's going to be fine. Not what he does. He goes for the no so hard. And that's what you want. Okay? Which means here at the end of Act 2, the beginning of Act 3, we can't have our protagonist get saved by somebody else. We can't allow for that sense of relief. We have to go so hard for the no. This is the big no that finishes the show. Do you see what I'm saying? This protagonist instead, because this is a comedy and they have to do things the wrong way, has to dig so deep into their willfulness to make this goal happen by any means necessary that they come back at this problem with twice as much commitment and twice as many bad ideas, and they just... whoever this protagonist is, whatever's wrong with them, it's going to be twice as wrong by the time this episode is over. They have to dig so deep that their efforts to accomplish whatever it is that they need to accomplish in Act 3 of this show, along with whatever was left unaccomplished at the end of Act 2, sort of demolish everything that we've seen before. And it can be intimate, it can be quiet, but it needs to be more ill-advised than whatever it was that they were trying to do before, because whatever it was they were trying to do before is what got them into this situation in the first place. So they need to let go of any restraint that they may have been holding on to. They need to stop pulling punches. Not that you have been pulling punches on their behalf, but they need to let go of whatever it is that's holding them back and transform themselves into an even more inappropriately ill-equipped person than they were previously. They need to really effing go for it, because now they have 2 acts of work to do in 1 act. And by the way, you have less than 10 pages to make that happen. So whatever this effort is going to be, it's going to be extreme. It's going to be ridiculous. They're going to come back hard. The audience is going to have that big no. If it's intimate, it's going to be a cringy no. If it's animation, it could very well be a very big, splashy, oh my God, I can't believe this kind of no. But you've got to go hard here. Okay? And that's going to get you through the end of the episode. So what you're going to do is you're going to make a list of all the things that they need to do to get from that rock bottom place to the place where they have actually achieved their goal for the whole episode. Not just the goal that they have for Act 3, but also the unfinished business of Act 2. They need to wrap it all up and push it out the door by any means necessary, and they need to do whatever it's going to take to make that happen. And they will have learned something by the end of this episode, but it's probably not the thing they should have learned, and that's comedy. Okay? So you're going to go ahead, you're going to make a list of the things that they need to do to make that happen. It's between 1 and 3 things because you don't have that much page space. You're going to write the scenes where they do those things, paying mind to the conflict and everything else that's going on. And now you have a pilot episode. Congratulations. Next week, we're going to talk through the show Bible and what's involved in getting that prepared to send out. And in the meantime, happy writing. Thank you very much for showing up to the right stuff. I'll see you in a week, and I look forward to learning with you.